What's going on, team? Hope everyone is doing well through this fucking crazy crisis that we're going through. We're here to bring you another discussion with the Daily Rage Quit, sharing our thoughts and insights on what's happening in the gaming industry. Alongside me today, of course, the one, the only, Steelman.
Hey y'all, how's it going?
He's here to help us cover those topics and dive deep into it. As you could probably hear from my voice and inflection and everything in between, today's discussion is just focused on what happened to you, Battlefield. To give a little bit of background, Steelman and I come from the 1942 Battlefield background. So we have played every single Battlefield across the spectrum. It is probably, Steelman, would you say, one of, if not the most greatest franchises in your eyes?
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, Battlefield is near and dear to my heart. I remember playing that first one and being hooked instantly, and it's always been, that way all along until maybe recently, but we'll get into that.
Oh my God! Recently, I mean, if you think about it, guys, Battlefield 1942 was amazing. When DICE launched Battlefield 2, it was a game changer. Then you had Battlefield 3, you had the Bad Company series, you had a whole bunch, and then all of a sudden, Battlefield started to take a humongous shit. You started with Battlefield 4, which actually is one of my favorites. It just took a year and a half for it to actually be fixed till it was great. Battlefield 1, which is in World War One, also took a humongous shit, but also I really enjoyed once it took about a year to fix. And then finally, our major topic of today, Battlefield 5, probably the biggest turd of the franchise. There's a lot of reasons why it's a turd. There's a lot of reasons why it smells, why it stinks, and why in the recent releases from EA and DICE that this summer will be the last official update to that particular game. By the way, update, Steelman, not content. So we're getting an update, and then they're shutting the doors on it because guess what, everybody? Battlefield 5 ate it, and it's time to move on. And today, we're going to crush it on it. Steelman, what are some of the things that we're going to be talking about on this turd?
First of all, I want to just say that you're understating how much of a shit it is. When I think of this game, I think of that meme of Jeff Goldblum and he's standing next to the giant Triceratops turd, and I'm like, that is Battlefield 5 right there. They were ahead of their time. They knew Battlefield 5 was going to be a giant turd, and they made that movie just to include that part in it. Man, it's hard, man. It's bittersweet because I love Battlefield. It's my favorite game. It's what brought me and Weiss and all of the other people we play video games together, and it sucks. I wanted this to be good. I wanted it to be awesome, and from day one, I liked it from day one. I actually did kind of like it at first. I will admit that, and then it just started to get really, really bad, and just worse and worse and worse. And yeah, EA and DICE definitely dropped the ball on it. There are many things. The content was so shy. I mean, you talk about a game that year after year, franchise entry after franchise entry, they had 30 plus maps 1 year into each game, and this one had 12 after a year. I mean, like, not even half. Like, it is insane to me. Like, how do you guys drop the ball? You say, oh, we're going to do this live service. It's going to be just as good. And it's like not even half as good. Like, how? I don't know. That really upset me. I remember I'd already stopped playing at that point. And I remember being a year later and being like, man, this is crazy. You go back and look at all the map releases for every single one. And they're 30 plus maps a year in. I mean,
and out of 12 maps, probably half of them are actually really great. Yeah. So like there's always a couple shitter maps in any game that you play when it comes to multiplayer, except for Apex because you only have 2 maps, so you only get to choose one or the other. But like for this, you have 12 maps, and if you've got 4 bomb maps that are just like they don't flow with your play style or they don't flow with the squad style, which some of them did, all of a sudden you're like, yeah, I'm really only playing like 6 maps here. This is $10 a map I'm paying for. That's what I'm paying. $10 a map. That's how I look at it from a money perspective. Oh my God, yeah, but the content. Even like the skins, like the skins of the characters, like as you try to like upgrade your guns or join, I thought the mechanics were just terrible. The game, like upgrading your guns or choosing a gun, upgrading
Oh
your
no.
character, it was so bad. It didn't make sense, and really it didn't impact at the end how you played the game. It didn't matter. You just want to jump into Battlefield and fucking play it. That's what you want to do. And all of a sudden they went off the deep end with that. So I'm with you 100% with content. What the fuck?
Yeah, they did the cardinal sin of like any salesperson, which is like you want to under promise and over deliver, and they did the opposite. They like over promised like all of this stuff, and then like it never even made it into the game. First of all, it didn't make it at launch, and everyone was kind of like, all right, it's coming, and it just never made it. Like certain things just never made it in this game. The drag mechanic was one thing that I was like excited about. I remember them
Yes.
talking about the drag mechanic that they were going to add.
That
And
would
then
have been
they're just,
awesome, dude. Like in
yeah,
middle of gunfire, just like dragging somebody out. You're like, yo, let's get one of our squad mates back. Let's pull him into the ditch, and let's just like revive him real fast and get back to action.
yeah. And there were instances where I remember specifically playing and being like, I could use that right now. It wasn't often. Like there were more often times where you could just run out and revive somebody and you'd probably be fine. But like I remember being like, that would be cool to have. Like it would be a neat thing to be like, all right, I'm going to drag this guy behind this cover and then revive him, and then I have my guy back in the game with me. I saved a ticket, which is really important when it comes to game modes like Rush, which coincidentally did not make it into the game. So here we are again. Yeah, but that wasn't a surprise. They kind of said that from the beginning that it wasn't going to be in the game. But Rush for us, Matt, I know you're the same way about this. Like Rush is our game mode. Like we love it. There's nothing like better than Rush because it's like personal, in your face. You are tic-tac-toeing. It's nitty gritty. You're like in the trenches, and it's like a hard fought battle for that point every time. The conquest is okay, but like
Yeah.
something around standing around a flag and just like raising a imaginary flag up in the air, it doesn't really get me going. I just it's kind of easy. It's not very tactical. I like the actual physical. Get in there, you put a bomb on the thing, you wait for it to explode, you cover it. It's there.
There's like such a
excited.
huge battle, like their own battle scenes in Rush. It's just like every time you're going to it, both teams are like trying to either defend the bomb or attack the bomb. And once it's attacked and it's planted, all of a sudden now the other team's trying to attack and make sure they can disarm. It's like chaos. And whether if you defend it or you blow up the station, that was like one of the best feelings. Didn't make it. Why would it? Why would we add it anyway? That'd be silly, just
right.
all other battlefields. Why not? Let's just get one of the most important like fucking modes gone. But let's talk about that under promising, over promising, under delivering marketing.
Yeah, the marketing here was one thing that really just from day one it was just bad. I mean, they had people commenting that shouldn't have been commenting, saying stuff that they shouldn't have been saying. I mean, we all know the story of the guy that was like, well, my daughter wants to play this game and she wants to play as a female character and I think she should be able to do it. It's like, dude, your daughter's also like 11 years old. And like, I mean, is this really going to like impact her life that she can't play in a historical game? Like, I mean, it's not historically accurate, but like at the same time, like it's World War II. There weren't a whole lot of female soldiers. Like, I get adding that in, but then don't pretend to be, like a lifelike Battlefield or lifelike war franchise. I don't know. It was very wishy-washy. The main thing for me is that it seemed like all over the map there was no leadership. There was no direction on where they wanted to go. They wanted to be historically accurate. They didn't want to be historically accurate. They wanted to have female characters, and they want to have like Nazi Asian characters and stuff, which like it doesn't make sense to me because it's like, but they weren't Nazis. I don't know. So everyone like then they had the single player that had Nazis in it, and it's like I don't get it. What are we doing here, people? But
I'm in agreement. Also, the other thing was like from a marketing perspective, I got like 2 trailers. Great thanks. You told me nothing about the game whatsoever. Actually, in order to learn about the game, it was either I had to get written updates from EA and DICE on, well, here's what's coming. Here comes the magical hands and telling you exactly what's going to come. Or the other thing was, this was perfect. I had to go listen to other YouTubers who got invited to private events to play the game and do their own recording and reactions to the game itself, without actually seeing the mechanics. And they had to release that information later, which was great. I actually got to see the gameplay, but thanks. You couldn't do it yourself. We couldn't see the mechanics. You couldn't do it in an expo. You couldn't have done it in any of the trade shows whatsoever. Instead, you just didn't tell us anything about the game, except here's what's going to come. And then guess what? You handed us a family-sized plate of delicious treats with 1/4 of what those treats should be. So thanks. We really appreciate that.
Yeah, it wasn't actually family size in the end. It was just personal size.
Oh no, personal pie pizza. Thanks. That's what Battlefield 5 will always just be a personal size pizza. It won't be anything else. What plain? You don't get toppings. Fuck you. You have to pay for that.
Yeah, you have to pay extra. Oh man, that's the other thing too, is that like they had all these skins and all these things that you had to like pay extra for, and like, you know, and the boins, the coin things, whatever they call them, the Battlefield coins, boins. Oh my God, everything costs boins. Everything costs more boins. And I was like, come on, man, like you guys just gonna nickel and dime us for everything in this game? Can we get something out of this? It was, God, like everything. They just missed the mark on every aspect. And the other thing with the marketing was that like they put these trailers out, and this is after Battlefield 1, which. The Battlefield 1 trailer, I remember watching that and being like, I do not give a fuck about World War One. I don't want to fucking play a World War One game, and this is going to be fucking trash. Because I remember it was like the leaks were coming out right before the trailer was released, and like people were like, it's World War One, it's World War One, it's World War One. I was like, oh, fuck. And then they released the trailer, and I was like, holy fuck, I've never wanted to play a World War One game more than I do right now. Like, is this coming out? Like, I'm totally excited for this. Like, it looks amazing. That trailer was absolutely phenomenally done. It was just beautiful, and it made you want to play a World War One game. And I liked Battlefield 1. I thought it was a fun game. I think nade spam was a little ridiculous, but like we got used to it, and you played, and I actually enjoyed it. And we played it up until Battlefield 5 came out, on and off. But yeah, and then the trailer comes out for Battlefield 5, and it was the opposite. I was like, all right, like what is this? There's fucking a dude with blue hair. And a girl with a fake arm and you know, an amputee arm, and like she has a long trench coat on, and she's like, I don't like, man, like the mechanics looked cool. That was the thing I remember though. Like I was like, oh, people were jumping out of windows and rolling on the ground and like, you know, diving and stuff like that. Like, you know, maybe not diving, but like I was like, all right, like they've updated some of the mechanics, thank God. Like that's kind of cool. Needless to say, like when you played, that wasn't, you know, we had a 1-inch wall that you couldn't climb over, and you jump like 5 times up and down on a little pile of rocks, and you couldn't be able to get over it, and then someone would snipe you in the face from across the map that you couldn't see because the character models were too dark. But I digress. But yeah, like, you know, it was cool to see some of that stuff, but then it was like oversaturated. It was like a fucking travel Instagram model Instagram page with like saturation turned all the way up to make up for our lack of photographic skills. And like that was like, okay, what is this? Like this doesn't look like Battlefield. This looks like a, you know, cartoony game. And then, you know, the trailer was just kind of like, what's going on? Like, what is happening here? Like, man, the marketing was poor on that, and they just doubled down on all their stupidity. Every time they took heat, or every time somebody like criticized them, they just went full blown like, hey, you know, we embrace it. This is it. And it was like, that's cool, but people are eventually going to have to buy your game. And if they don't, that's not good. Like, so I'd be curious to see what EA and DICE do the second time around with this. Like, hopefully they reel their marketing kind of back in and say, you know, bring it back to the fans and bring it back to the people and be like, we want to make a good game for you guys, not just make a good game because, you know, we think it's good, which obviously wasn't.
I think when it comes to